OCD can be an incredibly debilitating condition. If you feel trapped, stuck in a cycle of worrying and obsessing, constantly feeling like you're in your own head and unable to actually live the life you want, please reach out. I'm Megan Cromie. I'm a licensed professional therapist. I also offer coaching, and I specialize in OCD. Unlike many treatment providers, I actually understand fully how OCD works and how difficult it can be. I practice evidence-based techniques, mostly exposure therapy or ERP, to actually help you learn how to break free of the OCD and anxiety cycle and start actually living. To discuss it a little more, I'll go through a little bit of how OCD works. OCD typically starts when we experience an intrusive thought. These can be triggered from a variety of contexts, can also come up out of the blue. Now, importantly, the intrusive thought on its own isn't necessarily what truly causes or starts OCD, even though it may feel like it. And this is because intrusive thoughts are natural and normal. Everyone experiences intrusive thoughts from time to time. However, not everyone will develop OCD. What's important and truly starts the OCD cycle and keeps people trapped in the loop of OCD is actually the meaning attached. At a base level, really this meaning is just that these thoughts have meaning, have importance, that I wouldn't have these thoughts if they weren't true, if they didn't mean something about me, the world, or the way I need to live life. Common meanings are, that maybe I really am a bad person because I have this thought. Other companies would be that these thoughts, these bad outcomes are going to happen and that I really need to actively work right now in the moment to prevent them from happening. These meanings, of course, bring up a ton of anxiety. If I really think that something terrible is about to happen, I become very distressed. If I really think I might be a terrible, bad person, I'm going to be very fearful. So this is where we get into the intense anxiety that can come with OCD. It's what makes it one of the hardest conditions to live with. Usually because of this physical intensity, our brain and our body is doing everything it can to try to find something to make that distress go away. Here, usually with OCD, you will engage in something called a compulsion. Now, this can be any act, physical or mental, that's designed to help alleviate the distress in some way. So we might be checking that we didn't make a fearful mistake. We might be mentally replaying what happened, trying to be more and more sure. We might be trying to seek reassurance, either by confessing or simply asking our loved ones over and over again if we that we didn't make a mistake, that we are a good person, that these bad things aren't going to happen. All of them function in the same way. Obviously, sometimes they can almost be invisible because so many of them actually go on in our head. But sometimes we're engaging in these physical actions too. We're cleaning, checking, repeating, touching things in a certain way, adjusting things, getting rid of things that feel triggering and scary. Now, these compulsions provide a little bit of short-term relief. However, it's really not very long-lasting. And the longer and the more intense your OCD is, the briefer this relief will actually be. Unfortunately, this provides negative reinforcement for several reasons. The first one is it really shows at a core level the compulsion worked, right? That, hey, I was able to feel a little better for a second, which makes us more likely to rely on them in the future. But at a really big level, essentially, by focusing and putting so much attention on the intrusive thought itself, our brain now reads it as more real and more important. And because of that, we will actually experience more intrusive thoughts. The other issue is that oftentimes doing compulsions can feel temporarily better, but they often bring up new doubts, new fears that will never be fully answered, causing us to now experience a surge of new thoughts, new worries, new angles to the same what if, the same worry that we started with. So the unfortunate reality of OCD is that it can become messier, scarier, and more intense as time goes on. If OCD has been going on for a while, this cycle can happen several times within the span of even a minute. Many people I work with don't realize this entire cycle is taking place simply because they experience such frequent intrusive thoughts and that this cycle goes on so quickly, they're not even aware of it. But it is possible to break free of it. Working together, we'll actually use ERP treatment, which is the gold standard for OCD and tends to be one of the only really well research-backed treatments that is just as effective often is medication. Of course, you can do both together. During ERP, what we're doing is we're actually exposing you to some of these triggers or thoughts and allowing them to come up without doing the compulsion. This allows you to actually see what will happen, right? And sometimes I know logically we already know, right? That technically I know if I don't clean this, I'm not gonna get sick and die. But it's very important that we kind of show our body over and over again that these things are actually safe, and that importantly, we actually don't need to act on the intrusive thoughts. The thought being there does not determine the course of action I need to take. So we almost learn over time to be able to kind of let the thought be there without fixing it. By doing this, we're now escaping the cycle. We're no longer obsessing about it, and we're able to simply acknowledge the intrusive thought and kind of let it go. So I would say it's much easier said than done, but that's why it's so important to work with an OCD specialist who highly understands how OCD works and is very focused on helping you actually escape the cycle and defeat OCD altogether. OCD is considered actually a very treatable condition, even though it can be so debilitating. So it's very important to get the correct care and from someone who is actually specialized in it. If you need that help, please go ahead and use the links below to reach out and start the first step of actually getting free from OCD and being able to finally reclaim your mind.